I've put in over 50 hours into Shin Megami Tensei V Vengeance on the PS5, and after finishing it, it's become clear to me that this is not only my favorite entry in the franchise, but this feels like what Shin Megami Tensei V was aiming to be back in 2021. This version of SMT5 has numerous quality of life fixes, a massive amount of new recruitable demon designs, and an all-new Canon of Vengeance storyline that features a much more cohesive narrative in my opinion, despite it overall telling a very familiar story. So for this off-the-cuff review, let's talk about what's new and what's changed with this game. SMT5 Vengeance features two separate story modes, the Canon of Creation, which is essentially the original story of the original game, and the Canon of Vengeance, which is a brand new tale that features a new group called the Kadishchu. Fortunately, you are able to choose between both story modes at the very beginning of the game. You're presented with a cutscene that gives you a choice. Depending on the option you choose, you'll be sent down either the Canon of Creation or the Canon of Vengeance, and it's pretty obvious which one you're picking, to be fair, but the game will confirm to you after the fact that hey, you did pick Canon of Creation, Canon of Vengeance, do you want to continue? So there should be no confusion there. But as I said before, the Canon of Vengeance, it features a new group called the Kadishchu, and they're the antagonists for most of the game, and through your encounters with them, you learn more about who they are and what their goals are for this world and how it relates to your story. Now, I can't go into detail about exactly what they want for spoiler reasons, but I do think that their inclusion adds a bit more to the story and adds a bit more of a layer on top of the already established forces of law versus chaos, and their war between who gets to control the world and things like that. Their story definitely adds a bit more to it all, and I also think it helps with the pacing considering there's just a lot more going on this time. However, even with their addition, the story still is pretty similar to the original in the grand scheme of things. It's not like it's an entirely different story in the same vein as something like SMT4 to SMT4 Apocalypse. This feels more like a retelling with extra stuff inside of it. You still see some of the same story beats unfold, albeit in a slightly different way, but there are even parts of the base game that still happen in Vengeance, however here it's shown off screen. This is likely the result of one of the areas being cut for Vengeance and being replaced with a new location to explore, yet the story beats that still unfolded in that area that was removed apparently still happen, you just don't get to see it. So it's not perfect, the story still has its issues, but I still see it as an overall improvement over the original. Moving on to the gameplay side of things, everything has been tweaked and improved across the board. The one that jumps out to me the most is the new gameplay balancing, or more specifically the level scaling. If you played SMT5 back in 2021, you probably remember that you could barely scratch enemies if they were a mere 20 levels above you. They would decimate you almost 100% of the time and you'd be able to barely scratch them. Well, I'm happy to say that with Vengeance, this issue has been solved 100%. With the removal of this strong level scaling system, the entire gameplay of SMT5 is arguably just different than before. This places more emphasis on building up your character's stats, as well as equipping stronger skills, as those seem to make more of a difference now than levels themselves. For the most part, the game just feels more fair this time around and doesn't feel as if the level is the sole determining factor for your damage output. Another area that's been improved is the party customization and building up your demons. It's never been more satisfying. Building up your team has always been a highlight in SMT for me. In fact, it's probably my favorite turn-based combat system ever because of it, but this game goes the extra mile with a new system called Demon Haunts. This is an area that is accessible through any part of the Netherworld, which allows you to spend time with your demons, listen to what they have to say, which can motivate them to level up and learn new skills and raise their stats. The same can happen for you if you listen to Algami, who was the demon that you fused with at the very beginning of the game. This is just one of many avenues when it comes to customizing your party, maximizing your gains, figuring out how you want to build your character up. I find that it's a very integral part of the experience. I recommend coming here as often as you can, listening to what your demons have to say and motivating them to level up and learn new skills. So the party customization is great, building up your team has never been this fun, the battle gameplay seems a lot more fair this time around, but what about the visuals? If you haven't noticed from looking at the gameplay, SMT5 Vengeance runs at 60 FPS on the PS5, and it has never looked this good. I already thought the game looked really great on the Switch despite, pop-in and the frame rate being a bit of an issue. The core visuals itself to me looked great and outshined a lot of other RPGs on that system. However, with the extra headroom of the PS5, this game absolutely shines. Now of course it is a turn-based RPG. Is 60 FPS really necessary for a game like this? Not really, but I will always appreciate it when it's available. SMT5 has never looked better than it does now, and seeing these environments with such high fidelity is just incredible. I also want to briefly touch on the soundtrack for this game. Now, this features a lot of the same tracks as the original release, but if you choose the Canon Vengeance, you'll be treated to a couple of new battle themes, as well as some new exploration music that really just sound incredible. But this is no surprise. SMT is a series that's filled with so much good music, and SMT5 Vengeance is absolutely no exception. With that all being said, SMT5 Vengeance is a fantastic RPG that is thankfully more accessible than ever before thanks to its multi-platform release. I loved SMT5 back in 2021, and so no surprise, I absolutely love SMT5 Vengeance now. It is my favorite in the mainline franchise, and I definitely think that anybody who is a fan of SMT should check it out. If you were one that was disappointed with SMT5 Original's base story, I'm not sure that this story will fix all of your issues, but because the characters are more front and center in the story, they stick around with you for a lot longer, and the pacing issues are a little bit better, I think there is something to enjoy here even if you were disappointed with the original. If you were disappointed with the gameplay, well, this is a massive overhaul. Like I said before, the level scaling issue is no longer really a thing at this point. The gameplay feels a lot more fair, so if you were disappointed in the gameplay, then this might have something for you. But that's going to do it for my off-the-cuff review of Shin Megami Tensei V Vengeance. Thank you to Atlas for providing us a review code to check out the game. Thank you all so much for watching, and make sure you subscribe to GameXplain and ring the bell for a lot more on Shin Megami Tensei V Vengeance and other things gaming too.